Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're digging into something, well, something a little weird. Today's topic is Something's Off, the science of our eerie modern world. We are exploring a deeply fascinating, somewhat philosophical, and honestly, slightly unsettling sensation that so many of us are dealing with right now. It's this vague, nagging feeling that our modern world looks entirely functional on the surface, but deep down, it just feels completely wrong.
Think about it. Have you ever walked into a room you know perfectly well? Maybe it's your own office building after hours or one of those pristine, perfectly manicured shopping streets, and suddenly felt like an absolute stranger? You look around. The lighting is exactly the same, the furniture is exactly where it should be, but your brain is just whispering this quiet, unsettling message: something is off. Listen, if you've ever felt that weird cognitive dissonance, you are absolutely not alone. And actually, scratch that. It's not just in your head. Let's figure out exactly what your brain is doing in those moments.
Section 1. The vague sensation, liminality, and the uncanny. To really grasp why we feel this way, we need to dive right into the psychology behind it, because this unease actually has some very concrete definitions.
Let's kick things off with a concept you might have heard of: the Uncanny Valley. Back in 1970, a robotics professor named Masahiro Mori introduced this idea. He hypothesized that when an entity, think of a highly realistic robot or a digital avatar, appears almost human but not quite 100% there, it triggers this eerie, repulsive feeling in us. And it makes total sense. Our brains are incredibly evolved to recognize human traits, so when something is just almost right, it creates a massive perceptual conflict. But here's the crazy part. Lately, this eerie feeling has totally escaped the world of robotics. What happens when our actual, everyday environments start to slip into the uncanny valley?
Well, that brings us to liminal spaces. Drawing on cultural theories of the weird and the eerie, there's a whole community dedicated to this idea of liminality, and they define this specific feeling absolutely perfectly. They call it the eeriness of nothing where there should be something, or something where there should be nothing. Just picture an empty bus terminal at 2 in the morning, or an immaculately clean but completely deserted corporate plaza. When our environments are totally stripped of their expected human context, the noise, the mass of the people, our minds are basically left in a constant state of unease. We recognize the space, sure, but that missing human element makes the whole thing feel strangely artificial.
Moving on to Section 2, the modern illusion. Why do we feel flat? Let's zoom out from the physical spaces around us and take a look at the mental spaces within us.
Because even when we aren't standing in some creepy empty hallway, why do we so often feel totally exhausted or just generally off on a completely normal day? Well, Psychology Today outlines several really subtle subconscious causes for this pervasive malaise, what they call a low-vibe day. It's almost never one huge, tragic event. It's actually the subtle compounding stuff. We're talking about low-level, persistent physical pain, like that aching back from hunching over your desk. It's the sheer exhaustion of reacting to modern media, just constantly doom-scrolling through bad news or watching dystopian TV shows. It's the unexpected, quiet stress of money, the mental weight of putting off a nagging task, or the lingering exhaustion that hits you after a period of high stress has finally ended. We are basically swimming in this dopamine fog of constant digital alerts, and these background stressors are just quietly stripping away our mental peace. If your life looks totally fine on paper but you feel artificial, these are the invisible culprits.
Which brings us to Section 3, anomaly detection, the subconscious mind at work. Okay, this is where we completely flip the script. Feeling off isn't actually a sign that your brain is broken. It is a highly evolved biological survival trait.
To really ground this abstract concept in reality, let's look at professionals who literally rely on this exact eerie feeling to survive. I'm talking about maritime professionals conducting ship-to-ship or STS transfers. These are massive, high-pressure operations where two giant vessels transfer cargo right on the open ocean. According to industry guidance from SafeSTS, the masters of these ships actually intentionally rely on their gut feeling to avoid catastrophic disasters. Literally, if something just doesn't feel right, they will stop the entire operation.
And the absolute crucial point here is this: gut feeling is not some primal, mystical instinct. It is a highly sophisticated, learned skill. When an experienced ship captain feels that something is off, it's not magic. It's actually their subconscious mind rapidly integrating thousands of sensory inputs, past experiences, and subliminal cues to flag real-time anomalies. Think about it. The conscious brain just cannot process a slight variation in the wind, a tiny hesitation from the crew, and a weird, specific vibration in the ship all at the exact same time. But the subconscious can. It instantly computes that the expected norm has been broken well before the conscious mind can even form the words to explain why.
All right, Section 4. Trusting your internal signals. So, if feeling off is actually a super sophisticated survival tool, literally your brain recognizing that your environment is lacking something vital, how do we actually use it? We have to cut through all the frantic noise of modern life and learn to trust those internal signals again.
But before we can do that, we have to distinguish our true intuition from our constant modern companion, anxiety. Dochist Psychological Services offers a really fantastic framework for telling the two apart. Anxiety is basically characterized by a fear of bad things happening. It creates this frantic uncertainty, worry, and this really urgent impulse to just run away and avoid things. Intuition, on the other hand, is completely different. It's a grounded, whole-body sense of unease or sometimes a deep sense of confidence. It doesn't make you want to flee in a total panic. Instead, it guides you to stay, to pause, and to really listen. Basically, anxiety is just static noise. Intuition is a clear signal.
So, if you're feeling totally disconnected in that modern fog, here is exactly how you recalibrate. Number 1, you have to actually believe your intuition is there. Give it permission to speak up. Number 2, spend time in solitude with earth and water to kind of reset your baseline. Number 3, connect with your physical body. Actually be present in your limbs. Number 4, when that off feeling arises, just notice it without judgment. Where is it in your body? Is it heavy? Does it have a shape? Number 5, connect with your environment and see what subtle anomalies your brain is picking up on. And finally, number 6, act on what your body is telling you. This is literally how you reboot your inner anomaly detector.
Which brings us to our final and probably most important takeaway from this explainer. Feeling off isn't a broken system. It's your internal alarm system working perfectly. When the modern world feels artificial, when the spaces around us are stripped of human warmth, and when the daily grind demands constant optimization at the expense of your peace, your cognitive dissonance is completely justified. You aren't malfunctioning. You are just accurately perceiving the uncanny valley of modern life. So the next time you feel that quiet, eerie unease, please don't ignore it and definitely don't panic. Just pause and ask yourself, what anomaly is my intuition brilliantly trying to point out to me right now?